Now, certification goals is basically to get industry level recognition. So getting certified, it's a step. It's an important first step towards not only getting knowledgeable, but also getting, let's say, in this field and being recognized as a IT fellow with specific, let's say, skills as per your certification. Although, of course, in general, the skills, the certification doesn't really reflect the engineering skills to actually implement properly knowledge at that level. Now, from the starting point of view, as for the certification as well, what is the most commonly approach that people take, but also what it is a wrong one, as I was saying, is that they read books and they try to memorize commands and theory. And of course, this is, I mean, you may believe me or not, at this point, you're gonna see as you move on within your, let's say, professional life, as you move on, you're gonna see that actually you're gonna find a very difficult to actually retain knowledge and not forget it, and that is because of the wrong approach that people take. So getting certified means, by any means, reading one book, go to take the exam is never going to work, will take you nowhere on the long term. You just get certified, you have some certifications which you can show up to, you know, colleagues, people, to employers, but in the end nowadays, more and more companies are not only employing by the certification. You're going to have a decent or a tough technical interview based, of course, on the level that you're at, if it's CCNA, CCNP, or CCIE, and of course, based on the position you're trying to get within that company. So certification basically allows you to show up at the interview. Because of course they're gonna receive a lot of people wanting a job, and they're gonna basically go and chop down and stick up with couple of people that they call to the interview. So the certification helps you get to the interview, but the certification doesn't help you pass the interview and doesn't help you actually prove that you're a knowledgeable engineer. It's knowledge that makes you pass the interview, get a good job, and be a professional and be respected and recognized within the industry. So the correct but rare approach for studying is that, as I was saying, read as many resources as possible. But now, for example, if this is, you have to understand what exactly means to read a lot of resources and how do you read those resources. Like, for example, what a lot of people do, they take the videos. So let's take this class. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be available for reviewing. So any of you is going to basically be able to review the class recording. So what most people do, they listen to old videos. Like if it's 40 hours, they listen to 40 hours of videos. They make some notes. Likewise, book reading is the same. They read one book and make some notes or make no notes at all, and then they move on, which is a wrong approach. It's a fundamental wrong approach. It's not going to stick up with you, that, because that's not learning, it's reading and memorizing. That's what it is. You're memorizing from a book or from an instructor teaching a specific content, a specific technology. So to understand what is the functional way the better way to actually learn technologies and become a professional is like as you are in school. So you're trying to learn something, put yourself back in school. So back home, I'm from Romania. So in Romania, what happens is when you get to school, like on a daily basis, and probably it's the same all over the world, but just for the sake of example, you go to school and you do some theory. The teachers present you specific topics. They also present you have also labs in school to be able to implement and test the knowledge that they have taught you, and also you have homework to be done back home. So that's the approach that you should follow. Like you don't go to school and they teach you one book, like you would read one book, and then you go home and you practice, or you never practice, right? Because that's what most of us do. We read the book as a whole, we watch the video as a whole, and then maybe we do some practice and we expect to be knowledgeable, which is not the case. What you do, you take the book and you take the video, you learn and you read about a specific topic, you make sure it's clear in your head what you have learned, and then if possible you go and test that out if you have the option, ideally. So you should always try and have the option to test a specific feature after you have studied it. So that's how you learn. You read a topic from multiple resources to grab your hands on several inputs of how that technology works from different documents and get a better high-level overview of the technology. Then you also can watch a video, even gain a better understanding. But of course, in the end, fundamentally, to apply that to yourself, you got to go and practice. And when you practice, again, you don't copy paste commands from Cisco's website. You actually build those on your own, and you look at the commands and you try to understand what exactly you're doing with each command step by step. So if you know that the technology requires 5 steps to be built, then you got to take those commands that make up the technology work, and you try to understand which of those 5 commands or which of those 10 commands are going to map to the first step of the technology, to the second step, to the third step, to the fourth step, and to the fifth step. And then you verify that up, and then you move on. But before we move on, you make a review of what you've done to see if it's clear enough or not. This is how you build knowledge. It is the longer way because it takes more time. It's easier to just read one book quickly, watch videos while you're driving, so just listen to whatever the instructor states, and then go to the exam and hope to pass the exam or even pass it. But even if you pass the exam, you're not a professional at that point. It's not going to take you on the long run. You're going to lose, because actually as you move on, even if you advance in your career from the certification point of view, you actually build gaps. Because you don't know how things work, you're actually building a lot of gaps, which at some point is going to be unmanageable. You're never going to be able to move on from a specific point of view and be stuck at that point and don't understand why other people can get 5 CCIEs and you can only get 1 or 2 CCNPs. Because it's a learning approach. As I was saying, at the CCNA level, of course, it's a bit it's the same, but of course you cannot go into all of the troubleshooting let's say details, because it's too much. But at least be able to follow those steps, as I was saying. Read, watch a video about a specific topic, then go practice it and configure it and verify it. And as I was saying, and as I'm going to show you as well, in most cases, if you know the steps of the technology, then, and if you look at the commands as you put those live on the devices the first time, the commands make sense. So you never have to memorize the commands, because it's actually as I was saying, is like you have built those commands. It's like you know it before you read it actually. And I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna show you that a couple of times. So this is gonna pay off tremendously in the end, but it is a longer road, a more difficult, let's say, approach. Okay, let's see if there are any questions in here. A question from Dimitri: certification actually helps company to maintain partner status with Cisco. It is correct. So yes, a lot of your employer, based on your certifications and based on the employee certification, they have status level with Cisco. That is correct. But at the same time, it also helps you, as I was saying, to show up on a job interview. But to pass it, it's a different story. So you should, from my point of view, and I highly recommend you, there are people that chase certification, they never chase knowledge, and they pretty much don't end up on the correct path. There are people that chase knowledge, they don't get certified, and it's unfortunately because they lose not a lot of opportunities, but in the end they lose visibility. And they basically they don't get the proper chances to evolve, because they're not getting contacted by specific companies, by better offers, better jobs. Because a better job doesn't only mean more money. From my point of view, it first of all, it means a better challenge, a challenge to evolve, to progress, to learn more, to be fronted with more advanced technologies and different variations of it, so in the end become a better professional, an expert.